Guys, in this tutorial we're going to learn what are blade templates. Okay, so I'll tell you in simple words first. Let's say if you go to let's say we go to Justdial. Okay, basically it will give you all the list of the contact numbers if you search for it. Okay, and let's say I look for doctors. Okay, so if I look for doctors, you will notice something common in all of these contacts, that you have this kind of a template. Okay, and all of the templates have the name, the stars, ratings, the contact number, the address, and all of that stuff, and the image over here. So basically, if I had to ask you to write, for example, there will be many many contacts over here for doctors, could be hundreds, thousands, millions. If I had to ask you to write codes for all of them like 1,000 times, and that wouldn't really be the right thing to do. So to save that, because all of these contacts are following the same format, which is the template, then we can just create one template and just loop over through them, or we can just create one template and include that wherever we want. So that's basically what a template is. And Blade template is actually provided by Laravel. Okay, so it's a powerful templating engine provided by Laravel, and unlike the other popular PHP template engines, Blade does not restrict you from writing the plain PHP code in your views. Okay, so you can use the Blade templates in your views, and that is why whenever you create any view file, it will end with .blade.php, because it will use the Blade templating engine. And yes, you can use the PHP tags as well, and you can write PHP inside of them. And the Blade templating engine provides with certain components, certain formats to write codes inside of them. Okay, and how do these things work basically? So whenever you write something with the Blade templating engine formats, then eventually it is compiled and cached into PHP only. Okay, so Blade view files use .blade.php file extension, as explained to you earlier. So let's have a look at that. So I have my project called my new project. It's a Laravel project that I've created. You must have seen in the previous videos. Now we have a welcome.blade.php, and this is what is responsible to open up the main site. So if I just go on to this my new project.test, you can see that this is the welcome .blade.php, which is opened up over here. Okay, now we had also created, let's go ahead and create a new file. Okay, let's say I want to create a file called test. So we name it test, and obviously since the file name is test, remember we spoke about that you have to add an extension called blade.php. Okay, so test.blade.php. So you can see that this is the the extension. Okay, and then we obviously need to define the route for it. So let's go ahead and go to web.php, which resides inside of the routes directory, but I'll just use the command P to go ahead and go into this directory, and I'm just going to create a route for it. So I just copy this. You must have learned in the previous video how to create the route, so I won't go over that. So let's say I want to access this page at the root directory. This is the root directory, and then test extension, sorry, the slug will be text, and then I'm going to load up my test.blade.php, so it resides inside of the root directory of views folder. So I'm just going to say test. So you don't have to write test.blade.php. Remember we spoke about this in previous videos. You just have to write test, and it will include that. I'm just going to write something over here, just something, so if I now go on to the root directory /test, it should open up this. Okay, so now how do we use this templating engine? So let's begin from the scratch. So the first thing is how to echo something. So in PHP, if you had to echo something, obviously you need to open up the PHP tag and just do like echo and then test. right? And then if you go over here, refresh the page, you can see test is here. However, if you're using Blade templating engine, then you don't really need to, you know, if you want to you can, but if you don't want to, then you can just use, instead of this, you can just use you know, two curly braces opening and closing, and inside of this you can, inside of the string you can write test. Okay, so this is actually equivalent to echo test with the PHP tags. Okay, so now if you go ahead and refresh the page, you can see you have another test over here. So this is equivalent to this. And like I said earlier, that in the Blade, because it's a Blade template, it is using the Blade templating engine. That's why the extension is .blade.php. It will still allow you to use the PHP tags and you know, write PHP, and eventually this is compiled into PHP only. Okay, so that's how you write that. So that's echoing. Okay, let's go next. What's next? So next is the comments. So how do you write comments? So in PHP you would write comments like this, like double slash, but over here you write it like this. I'll show it to you this way. So this is the comment, and obviously the browser will not render that because this is comment. Okay, refresh the page and you won't see anything over there. Cool. The next thing is PHP tags. So if you do want to write PHP, if you do want to write some functions, instead of you know, writing like this, you have an option to start an opening tag with an at. Okay, so most of the tags that you see over here would start with add, and it will be at end PHP. So they will end by with the word end. Okay, so whatever you write over here, so even you can use the Blade templating engine also inside of this, and just write my text. Okay, but obviously you see that's not working over here because you've opened up PHP tag. So what you can do is you can use the normal PHP, like if you want to use echo my test, you would be able to use that. Okay, and now if you go over here, refresh the page, sure enough you can see my test over there. I'll just zoom it in so you can see it. Okay, great. Now next thing is include a file. Okay, so how to include a file? To include a file, guys, all you have to do is just use @include. So it's @include, and then inside of the bracket you can write the name of the file. So for example, let's create a file. Inside of view, I'm going to create a file called let's say other dot, remember we have to use the dot blade.php extension, other dot blade.php, this one. Okay, and this is the other file. So now if we go over here, @include, all we have to do is just define the path up until this file. So if we want to include the other.blade.php, it's inside of the root directory. So all I have to do is just do other. And remember, we don't have to mention .blade.php. It will automatically include that. So let's go ahead and try that out. Refresh the page, and sure enough, you can see that that file is included. That's why you see the text over there. In case if that file is included into another directory, subdirectories, you just need to define the path up until that. So let's change this. Let's say if I want to include this about.blade.php, it resides inside of the about directory. So all you have to do is first define the path, which is about, and then you can say about/about. So about is the name of the directory, which is this directory, and then about is the name of the file, which is inside of this. Okay, and that would actually include that particular file. So if you refresh the page, obviously there's something going on inside of the file. Just get rid of that. Let's say about over here. Refresh the page, and sure enough, you can see that about file is now included. Okay. Right. Now you can write slash, but you can also write dot. That would mean the same thing. I prefer dot method. You can see that it's still working fine. Okay, great. Next thing is if condition. Okay, so how to use if condition? So normally if it was PHP, I would say PHP opening tag, and then I would use if condition, and then I'll write my condition. However, in Blade templating engine, what you do is you do at and then if. Remember I said that most of the tags would start with at and then end with at and end. Okay, so if, and then obviously the starting and the opening and closing bracket, and you don't have to write these. You can skip that when using the Blade templating engine, when you're using @sign. Okay, so you don't have to write the closing and ending tag, but you sure need to end this if statement by using if. Okay, so you can then put any condition over here, like let's say obviously you need to use an opening and closing PHP tag if you want to write some condition, so I'll just use that. End PHP, and inside of this I will just define my variable. Let's say name is equal to Imran. Okay, and over here we'll check the condition if name is equal to Imran. Remember, we use the Yoda styling just to ensure that the value doesn't get assigned to it. Okay, and then we can just echo out, so we can just use this and just use the echo, and then yes, it's true. Now if you go back, we'll get rid of this one, not this one. Refresh the page, and sure enough you can see now it's saying yes, it's true. Okay, so that's how you write the if statement. Okay, then the next thing, let's just go back. Blade template. Okay, then include a file if condition is there, and obviously, of course, if you want to know how to use the else statement, I can just show that to you as well. So I'll just copy paste to save time, or you can just write over here. Okay, if else, and then you obviously need to end the if statement. Okay, and inside of that you can just say, remember this is for echoing. Okay, it's false, so we can change Imran's over here, and then so that we go into the false condition, come over here, refresh the page. Okay, there's something wrong, it's false. Okay, okay, I forgot the single quote. Okay, you can see now it's saying it's false. Okay, then you have the isSet function. So again, I'm not going to go ahead and give you example of all of that. You can just see that. So the in PHP you write isSet. So over here you'll do @isSet, and then whatever condition you want to check, and then it's @end isSet. Similarly, you have @empty, @end empty. Then you have for loop. Okay, so use @for and then end @end for. Okay, and then you also have the for each loop, so for each and @end for each loop. Okay, and then inside of this you can also write other conditions and use the Blade templating engine. Okay, so this is pretty much, I don't want to give you too much information about it. You will learn it as we progress in the tutorial series, but this is pretty much how you use the Blade templating engine. Okay. In the upcoming video, guys, you will learn about the layouts. Again, it will use the Blade templating engine, so you will use different formats like extends and add section and things like that. So you'll learn all of that, and that is also part of the Blade templating engine itself. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.